For those of you who have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Pat Thompson. I am the pastor of the Presbyterian Church of Our Savior over here on Middle Belt, just south of Maple. And for at least this year, have the privilege of serving as the president convener of the West Bloomfield Clergy Association and Community Forum. And I'm especially pleased to be serving in this community for a number of reasons, but one of them has to do with the collegiality among the clergy. Certainly we have a community that is religiously diverse. I, as a Christian pastor, am able to bump up against, as I say oftentimes, with my Jewish colleagues particularly, which lends itself to the richness of this particular community. And not only do we meet monthly as a community or as a clergy association, but we consider ourselves a community forum, truly a place where folks can come, leaders in the community, educators, policymakers, police department, fire department, school district, all the folks who help to make this a decent place to live can come together on a monthly basis and fellowship, learn what's happening in the community, and at the same time, sisters. So it's on this particular occasion that I welcome you tonight, thanking you for taking time out of not only your busy schedules, but taking time away from family gatherings and braving the cold weather and coming out for, this is what, the 9th, I think I'm right, vigil that leads into the celebration tomorrow, the United We Walk celebration tomorrow. I just finished a week-long intensive in my Doctor of Ministry program, and the theme course for this past week had to do with dismantling racism. There's a book by a fellow named Joseph Barnt, B-A-R-N-D-T. I strongly suggest that you look it up and perhaps consider buying it. And one of the things that we talked about was the way that racism is insidious, the way it tends to sort of weave itself into the fabric of American life. And even though we are all very proud to declare, in fact, that racism has somehow been taken care of, it's been met, the challenge has been thwarted, the fact is that in our institutions, even in our churches, I should say, racism still rears its ugly head. And now, as you well know, we're in the midst of a great controversy in this nation having to do with a concept that some folks refer to as affirmative action. I'm not going to give you my particular take on that today, but I do believe it behooves all of us in our attempts to build a just society, which after all is what the Judeo-Christian tradition is much about, building a just and equitable society, that it behooves all of us to learn as much as we can about those issues. But tonight, we're here as people of all colors, of different religious persuasions, different backgrounds, different socioeconomic levels, people who are diverse in every way. We come here tonight laying all that aside and simply uniting as human beings, those who have been created by God in God's image and are unique, each one of us, and on some level, brothers and sisters. So thank you for being here tonight on this occasion for the West Bloomfield, beginning of the West Bloomfield United We Walk celebration. Let me just briefly mention that last September 11th, you may have had the privilege of being with us when we commemorated, I guess is a better word, the first anniversary of the 9/11 tragedy that befell this country in 2001. We gathered on September 11th, 2002 as people of faith, people of goodwill at Temple Israel. I think we had the place pretty well filled. And on that occasion, we presented a resolution for a peaceful community. And these resolutions, many of you have had the opportunity to sign them. They look like this, and there are some on the table as you come in at the back. An opportunity to sign them with your name and your particular affiliation. And we put them in a book. And these books, like the one that I have here on the lectern, have been making their rounds in all the religious communities in West Bloomfield. And they've been colorfully and appropriately decorated by the children of this community. So tonight, before we actually begin our commemoration, I want to invite one of my colleagues in the West Bloomfield Clergy Association and Community Forum, who's not a clergy person herself, but certainly comes very faithfully to the meetings, happens to be a staff person, a major staff person over at Prince of Peace, Marty Lynch.
These are the resolutions for a peaceful community. We pledge ourselves to be instruments of tranquility and channels of God's peace. We know there is no possibility of reestablishing the broken order of our world unless justice, peace, and forgiveness unite in love. In response to globalized violence, let us forge a worldwide mobilization of consciences among us. May we be beacons of hope wherever vulnerability and fear now reign. May we rise from the ashes to embody hope for better days. May we never let evil have the final word. Let no person ever condone nor preach any message of terrorism or violence which makes an idol of God and a profanity of the traditions we hold dear. May we give corporate witness this day that forgiveness is always the high road to our lifelong pursuit of lasting peace. May we teach reconciliation at every opportunity, that we transcend our frail human nature and enjoy God's vision of harmony and unity. May we serve our community in genuine prayer for peace and healing, opening our hearts to others. May we build a civilization of love in every city and corner of the earth. May God show us the many gateways to peace.
So if you've not had an opportunity to sign one of those, please do that tonight. We will be ceremoniously dedicating all of the books tomorrow at the observance here in the high school auditorium. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for caring enough to be here. Thank you for your sensitivity. Thank you for being who you are in this, what we hope will always be a peaceful community. And now I believe we're moving to the second part of our program, which has to do with educating ourselves for the decisions that dreaming demands.
I need to do just a piece of work of education before we move to the next portion. At the conclusion of this evening, we will be lighting candles and stepping out into a reasonably chilly evening. But the candles have hoods, and we hope that you will use those. You may want them for yourself. But there's a rule. For the safety of yourselves, those who are lighting the candles, and this building, would you please be sure that you tip your candle toward the candle that is lit, and then receive the light, and then move on outside and form a circle. We'll form a circle at the end of the evening. At the conclusion of the singing of We Shall Overcome, simply make your way out, pick up a candle, tip it, receive your light, and form the circle in front of the school. A little bit of education. But now, the important piece of education. We are privileged to have with us tonight the co-chairpersons of United We Walk from West Bloomfield High School. And Rachel and Sonal will now present their portion of the program.
Hello, my name is Rachel Charlupski, and I am a senior at West Bloomfield High School and a student co-chair for this year's United We Walk.
Hello, my name is Sonal, and I'm also a student co-chair as well as a senior here at West Bloomfield High School. In addition, Rachel and I are co-presidents of the Ethnic Awareness Club called SHARE. SHARE stands for Students Helping, Accepting, and Respecting Ethnicities.
West Bloomfield High School has meant more to me than just receiving a great education. The diversity of our school has added so much to my personal growth and in preparing me for the rest of my life. I have learned to accept, appreciate, and learn from people's differences. Through this, I have gained a greater understanding of others' cultures, ethnicities, and races. Being a part of United We Walk has enabled me to be a part of such a great committee and spread Dr. King's message of hope to the rest of the community, making it a better place for everyone.
Being a part of SHARE here at West Bloomfield for the past 4 years has enabled me to open my eyes and ears to various other cultures within this area. I've learned to respect the cultural differences rather than reject them. With my involvement in this club, as well as with United We Walk, I'm able to turn the biases and hatred held between people with different viewpoints into communication and understanding. I believe we are all given opportunities to open our eyes and ears to others. However, it's not until we open our minds and hearts that we can truly build a peaceful community today for tomorrow.
The day before Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, he delivered this message of hope and promise to an anxious crowd. The speech is called "I've Been to the Mountaintop." It expressed his concern that to achieve his dream, it was necessary to take risks and to conquer the difficult times. It reaffirmed the meaning of his life and his vision, that history was carrying humankind toward the promised land of community. And here's the passage from Dr. Martin Luther King.
The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. The true neighbor will risk his position, his prestige, and even his life for the welfare of others. In dangerous valleys and hazardous pathways, he will lift some bruised and beaten brother to a higher and more noble life.
Thank you so much for coming, and we really are excited to see you tomorrow.
It has become something of a tradition for this vigil, this time when you who are lighting the way for what happens tomorrow, and it's always a few who lead the many, it's become a tradition for us to welcome Ben Stawinski and his troupe, which is usually a gathered group of folk, as it is tonight, who present some kind of an interpretation of our theme. Ben, if you want to begin to move your way up here. People is a book that has become a theme book for this year's event. Copies of this book have been presented to the schools in the West Bloomfield district, and it is from this book that we have excerpted some of the reading passages for tonight. It's called People, and the very book itself indicates that it is a celebration of our diversity. And the people that I'm going to call forward now will represent some of that diversity in our community. You will see that there are some who are young and some who are older, and you can determine which is which, and be kind when you do. There are some who are short and some who are tall, and be kind as you interpret the difference that means. And there are people from different cultural backgrounds. But I'll ask my readers, the people who are part of this presentation, to come forward now and take your place. And then, Ben, if you will lead us through the presentation of People.
Thank you. I must add one thing when we talk about older people, but bear with me, please. A Greek poet, Meander, said that in many ways the saying, "Know thyself," is not well said. It is more practical to say, "Know other people." Let's talk about people. We all know that there are lots and lots of people in the world.
There are 6 billion human beings.
In 2050, there will be 9 billion.
If we all joined hands in line, we'll stretch 229 times around the equator.
8 billion people, and no two of them alike.
Each and every one different from all the others.
We come in all sizes and shapes, tall, short, and in between.
And we come in many, many colors.
All of us want to look our best in our own very different ways.
People everywhere love to play, but not the same games everywhere. Basketball, softball, baseball, soccer ball, tennis ball, volleyball. We love to keep all sorts of pets. We practice 9 main religions.
Christians,
Jews,
Muslims,
Hindus,
Buddhists,
Shintoists,
Confucians,
Sikhs and Taoists.
some of us are rich, most of us are not. And very many are destined
There are 201 different main languages spoken on Earth.
Yet all live on the same planet.
Breathe the same air.
Warm ourselves in the same sun.
And in the end, we all must die.
6 billion human beings, young and old.
Sick and well.
Happy and unhappy.
Kind and unkind.
Strong and weak.
People everywhere.
And all different.
But isn't it wonderful that each and every one of us is unlike any other? It is very strange. Some people even hate others because they are different. They forget that they too would seem different if they could only see themselves through other people's eyes. But imagine how dreadfully dull this world of ours would be if everybody looked, thought, ate, dressed, and acted the same.
But isn't it wonderful that each and every one of us is unlike any other?
Now that's people, that's us, the end and the beginning.
My thanks to Marcus and Gary and Michael and Edward and Bruce and Marty and Dave for your participation. You represent the diversity and yet the unity in our community. We're privileged next to hear from a young man who is, for us, a very special guest. It isn't often that it is the second place person who gets a prime position. But tonight, Patrick gets that. And we are very pleased to have you with us. Not only is he our guest, but he comes from another school district, from Allen Park, a little bit south of here. And you have come a long way to bring us a good word. And we're pleased.
Hello. Abe Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, John F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. These men were some of the greatest leaders of our nation, some of the greatest history makers of our time. And all of these men had one thing in common: courage. They had the courage to stand up against the odds, against popularity, against all the opposition and obstacles set before them. They had the courage to stand up when they were told to sit down, and to step out when they were told to stay back. They were leaders not because they were told to be, but because regardless of popular vote and contrary to what everyone else around them said, they were going to do what they knew was undoubtedly right. You may be saying to yourself today, what do I have to do with the greatest history makers of our time? Well, the answer is leadership. My dad once told me that leadership doesn't sit, it doesn't talk, but it leads. What a simple thing to say, yet I found it to be so true. I believe that every one of us are leaders in this place, if we choose to be. Leadership is a chosen role. It takes courage. If you choose to stand, people will choose to follow. Yet it is sad to say that we live in a time in society where people live their life sitting down and watching the world make history around them. But I come here with a message to every man, woman, boy, and girl that you are destined to be a history maker. The heart and the mind of the individual is the most underlooked power in our world today. You have the power to move mountains, to stand up against any force, and to change the course of history. Yet will you live your life sitting in your seats, never moving a muscle because of doubt, or from fear of failure, or worry of reputation and status? Many in this lifetime will say, let's just leave it to everyone else. But when will we wake up and realize that we are who we say everyone else is? If James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin, the formers of our Constitution, would never have put their reputation on the line and wrote that Constitution, then today we would not be a free nation. If Abe Lincoln, a dirt-poor Kentuckyman, would have never decided to go against all odds and run for president, then the issue of slavery may never have been abolished. If John F. Kennedy had never decided to promote civil rights in America when it was unpopular, then we would not enjoy the freedoms that we have today. And if Martin Luther King Jr. would have never decided to share his dream, 250,000 would have never decided to march on Washington, the Senate would have never been moved to pass the Civil Rights Bill, immediate elimination of segregation in public schools would have never happened, protection of protest against police brutality would have never been, and equal opportunity to anyone of race and color would have never been granted. All of these men had the courage of their convictions. The question is, what are you doing to promote the courage of your convictions? What are you doing to promote freedom from opposition, to promote freedom of slavery of all kinds? What are you doing to promote civil rights for everyone, and then to promote an end to racism in our world? Those are the convictions in each of us that require courage. Now is the time to move beyond the chains called complacency that have held us down for so long. Now is the time to go beyond the boundaries set before us by peer pressure, to step out beyond apathy, mediocrity, beyond fear, and beyond every single obstacle set before you on this earth, to step out to the utmost reaches of everything inside your heart, and to say no more to the injustice of people based on their color and society status. The day this happens, prejudice will be no more, and the great wall of racism will come crumbling down. Freedom is not free. Men have given their lives to grant us it. What can we do to keep it alive? Everyone comes to a point of crossroads in this life where they decide whether they will sit in their chairs and watch history be made around them, or whether they will make history themselves. Today I ask you, will you choose to stand up with me and make history? We are and forever will be a diverse people, joined together at this appointed time by the inseparable glue of destiny.
I don't know who those other people are, but they better be pretty good. And if they aren't, we're going to come back with you tomorrow at the closing moment to send us out into that cold. You'll fire us up. A first place, first-rate job. Thank you, Patrick. Martin Luther King had a vision, and he was a leader because he risked himself for the vision that he had. It is our tradition here to recite the litany in commemoration of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. It is at this point that we begin seriously to make ourselves ready for tomorrow and its events. Let us join then in this litany. We remember with thanksgiving Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. and the call of his voice and his life for racial justice and social harmony. Free to be, as Patrick said. We gather here to commit ourselves to the cause that his work will be carried on and that his vision will continue to light our way toward friendship in this community that knows no limits and no bounds. May our God of mercy and compassion, who loves justice and judges prejudice and calls us to live as neighbors and friends, may God move among us and lead us on in the building of a worldwide community of friendship. It is the Spirit of God that prompts people to live in harmony, that impassions prophets to call for change, and that enables us to hear and to heed their call. Inspire all to embrace their differences and together work and end violence, segregation, oppression, ethnic divisions, and exploitation, so that all may joyfully shout, "Thank God, I'm free at last." Amen. And we are very privileged tonight to have with us both the co-chair of United We Walk for 2003, Velma Jones, who is our soloist, but also Joe Hunter, our accompanist. There's a brief note in the bulletin about Joe, and I'm going to ask Velma to say a word about Joe as she presents this part of our program. Velma Jones.
Robertson. Thank you. Well, I'd just like to say that Joe Hunter is, I have the honor of working with him. He's working with me on a production that I'm working on called Peeking at the Blues. And we worked together last year, but I thought I wouldn't be able to get him this year because Joe was recently in the movie Standing in the Shadows of Motown, and they've been traveling all over to Amsterdam and everywhere else. And I say, Joe, I need you. And so he worked it out. And because they were supposed to leave on the 21st of February, and my show is on the 21st of February. So he said, no, I can't go then. I'll go on the 22nd. So give him a round of applause for this. And you know, isn't this a touching evening? And I think that that student that gave that wonderful, wonderful, give him another round of applause. We certainly can't take anything for granted. And you know, Martin Luther King, being a minister, he had a special connection with the Lord. And I said that this song would be very appropriate because, you know, when you get ready to go out into the world and do things, you look for some inner peace, you look for some direction, and you want somebody to tell you that you're doing a good job, and you want to know where your next move, your next stand, the next place that you will help somebody. So this song, Anytime, Lord, is saying, I'm waiting to hear what you have to tell me, and I'm ready to do the job. So I'd just like to share that. Anytime, Lord, anytime, Lord, anytime, your precious gift of life you've given for me, a love sublime. So I stand before you saying, anytime. Anytime you have a task for me to do, I stand waiting just to hear the word from you. You may send your message through the Bible or through a friend of mine. I repeat once more with grace, Lord, anytime. I know I can't repay you for all that you have done. You gave me courage when I felt that I could not go on. Yes, I want to show my gratitude in the simple work that I've done. Yeah. Yes, I do. Anytime, just ask, and the task is mine. Though it may be difficult, I'll do my best to make you shine. And when my job is finished and you say, job well done, I'll say thank you, Lord, once more, anytime. I'll say thank you, Lord, once more, anytime. I'll say thank you, Lord, once more, any time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Velma. And we've been sitting around the table all these months just listening to her talk. What a waste. Thank you. Joe, thank you. Our privilege to have you with us on this special night. Pat Thompson and Marty Lynch, our co-chairs Rachel and Sonal, Ben and crew, Patrick especially, and Velma and Joe, you have set the stage for this next time. It's your time. Your time to reflect in quiet on some of what you've heard, on the challenge that Patrick has offered you, on the encouragement that Velma and Joe have brought to you. A closing time of silent and personal meditations on our theme, building a peaceful community today for tomorrow. What can you do? What can you do? You can march tomorrow, but you can take the message into the way you live your life day by day by day, as you reach out to others in this community and build that community of unity. Take a moment and give thanks for the gifts that you've received, the privilege that's yours, and the responsibility that we share. Let us be in quiet and silent personal meditation. A poet once wrote, "We have too little time to gladden the hearts of those with whom we share the journey of life. But we have some time. May the way that we live build a peaceful community for today and for tomorrow, that we may gladden the hearts of all who come in contact with us and whose lives are touched by this community, this growing community that now reaches across the metropolitan Detroit area." Led by Velma and Joe, we'll join together in singing "We Shall Overcome." While we're singing, you might want to put on some apparel. And at the end, on the last verse, if you'll move out the door and receive a light, a candle, and then form a circle outside, and Debbie Macon, our co-chair, will have a final word, a charge to us as we go out into the night and into tomorrow. Thank you all for being with us.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. God is on our side. God is on our side. God is on our side today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that God is on our side today. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we'll walk hand in hand someday. Well, now we are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we are not afraid today. And don't you know that the truth shall set us free? The truth shall set us free. The truth shall set us free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe the truth shall set us free someday. We shall all have peace. We shall all have peace. We shall all have peace someday. Yes, we will. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall all have peace someday.
Oh, we hate to leave you, Joe, but on the last verse, will you start your way outside now?
we shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Do it again. All right now, we shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday.
tonight our charge is to educate, communicate, and appreciate the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King. It's not just a dream of his, it's our dream. It's the dream of West Bloomfield community, Allen Park, wherever we can reach with the message of peace in our community, peace in our world. You know, as we find ourselves poised in a very difficult time in our world, in our country, we pray for peace, we walk in peace, we walk for peace. And so tonight, again, the charge, again, is to celebrate the dream, to do everything that we can to educate our friends and neighbors and family to the dream. And then together we appreciate the great legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, the legacy that we will pass on to our children and our children's children. Tonight we begin again.
Thank you, Bruce. If you have kept your candle alight, you are a leader. Tomorrow morning, 8:30, right here, you lead the charge. 8 o'clock, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, right here, you lead the charge. Thank you all.